Your reaction, disappointment, but why less safe?
Sure. Yes, the governor's veto was very disappointing. This was a very thoughtful, focused piece of legislation that would have addressed catastrophic risk from only the largest, most powerful models. And what it did was very basic. It would require the largest AI companies, largest tech companies, to perform safety evaluations on massive, powerful models before they release them, and to be able to shut down those models if something goes awry. They've all committed to perform these safety evaluations, but instead of just trust us, we want to put it in statute. So there was nothing extreme or unreasonable about this.
Right.
And the veto, unfortunately, sends a very bad message about the future of AI safety.
And Senator, what do you make of Governor Newsom's rationale for vetoing this bill? He said that he's worried it would provide a false sense of security, that smaller models could be exempt. We also saw Nancy Pelosi put out a statement about how she's happy the bill has been vetoed. What do you make of their rationales?
Respectfully to the governor, first of all, at least the governor acknowledged that these risks are real, because some of the opposition throughout were saying, oh, this is just science fiction. It's not science fiction. These are very, very real, tangible risks that these models could help facilitate. So the governor did acknowledge that, which is good. I didn't fully understand the governor's veto message. It said, well, the bill is too broad, but the bill is also too narrow. So the veto message, it's unclear what the governor actually wants. We'll see with this working group that he's setting up what comes out of that. But I and many others are committed to really moving forward to support AI innovation, because AI can make the world a better place, but trying to get ahead of the risks posed by this very powerful technology.
Right, and talking about that working group, so the governor has said that he's consulting with outside experts, including Fei Li and some others, to potentially come up with guardrails, maybe even new legislation, it sounds like, in a future session. What do you make of that? Do you think those are the right people for this group? Some people have brought up that Fei Li does have funding for a startup from Andreessen Horowitz, the VC firm, which has been very vocal against SB 1047. What do you make of that group? Are they the right people to be addressing this?
Well, they he put Tino Cuellar on there, who's a former California Supreme Court justice who I admire greatly. And I have a lot of respect for Fei Li. She's an incredibly smart, talented person. It's also important that folks technologists who supported the bill also be involved, because we had some of the greatest minds in AI who were supporting the bill. I hope that they are included as well.
Right. Senator, what of the influence, though, of those that were against? What of the lobbying? Did it make an impact?
Well, it did not have significant impact in the legislative process. The legislature, with very strong votes in both the Senate and the Assembly, passed this. So Democrats overwhelmingly supported this legislation, despite the intense lobbying by large tech companies and by large venture capital firms. The governor went through his own process, and I am confident was hearing a lot, both support and opposition, and ultimately made his decision. I strongly disagree with the governor's decision, but again, at least he acknowledged that these risks are real and that they're not made up.
Will you reintroduce SB 1047 in the next session?
We're going to evaluate next steps. We certainly want to engage with the governor and with others. This issue is not going away. It's important. Congress has shown no signs of acting. Congress could not even get it together to pass an election deepfakes bill before this election. So California, as the heartland of tech and AI innovation, has a responsibility to lead on AI safety.
So, Senator, while this bill didn't pass, it did spark a national, even international conversation about AI legislation. What do you think the impact has been? Has it surprised you how big the debate over this bill became and how much it divided the tech community?
Yeah, I knew this bill would be controversial. Any tech regulation bill is. I did not anticipate the scale of the conversation. But I have to say, it's always disappointing when a bill fails or gets vetoed. But sometimes you have to introduce a big controversial bill to spark a long overdue conversation. I've seen that happen in some of the housing work that we've done, where you introduce a huge bill, it doesn't pass, but it moves the conversation forward. And I think the same is true here. The fact that the governor issued a very, very lengthy and detailed veto message, the fact that he acknowledged that the risks were real, and the fact that he committed to forming, not just forming a working group, but saying specifically who's going to be on it and what it's going to focus on, that's a big step forward. And so, yes, it's disappointing that this veto happened, but this issue isn't going away, and we're going to get the job done.